Yes.
All right, welcome everybody. Zach, are we all set for?
Yeah, it's me and Liza.
Okay, good deal. Welcome everybody who's here in the room.
I'm sorry, Tom, before we start, since Carol is on Zoom, but not outside of the 50-mile radius, this doesn't count as a quorum, so you can't vote. You can edit the minutes.
Okay.
So, and I didn't even put that on here. Doggone it.
Okay.
Well, I guess I predicted.
That's all right. Yeah. So this will be an informational meeting since we do not have a quorum. Welcome those that are online as well as in the room here. This is our generally monthly Waynesboro Advocacy Committee meeting. And we do have an agenda which you should be able to see was sent out by Jennifer. And we'll start off with detailed design as our first agenda item. So, you want to let us know what's going on?
I'll start with that. Both Glave Homes and Waynesboro Design are ready to get to work, but we have one more formality to overcome, and I wanted to talk to this group about it. So, as you know, just to back up with the history, when we got the $1.14 million for detailed design, at least approved for that amount, that was less than what we should have gotten. And we knew that all along, but we still thought we could squeak through. As it stands, that delay in getting all the money, we got the $750,000 to start with, and then the remaining $400,000 a little later on. That caused prices to escalate. We've gone through that. With those two factors together, we have enough money to pay for the preliminaries or the second part of detailed design for the building for sure. Right, we got a quote for 50% of preliminaries for the exhibits. That's going to be too rich for our blood. They're asking for about 150,000. We have roughly 50,000 left that we can spend on this. So I want I either want a suggestion as to what to do, or for this group to approve the idea of going back to Riggs Board, basically telling, hey, look, guys, you understand the situation. We do need some illustrations, right? So let's remember, for getting through the state process, we need to have the building design. The state doesn't really care too much about what the exhibits look like, but we do need to keep momentum in the community and so forth. We need some visuals. I would like to go back and ask them to modify the proposal to get us as far along as possible, including some kind of renderings that could be useful for us in the exhibit design. Then what will happen when we move to the capital pool, we can use some of those funds to finish out the exhibit design. So this helps us keep momentum, but we also live within our budget.
Okay.
I also don't have another solution unless we want to do some fundraising campaign. My confidence isn't high that that's the way to go. And I don't think we want to go back to the General Assembly, because then we don't know how long we're going to put a delay on the project.
Right. So we're short. Did you say $100,000? So
yeah, about
it ballooned to 150. We had 50.
Yes,
something like that. Okay.
The big thing was the architectural costs went up. Plus, again, we have a 28,000 square foot building, but they gave us detailed design money for 21,000 square foot building.
Well, given that we don't have a quorum, we can't do anything officially.
Right.
Is there any discussion, any questions about this situation?
Doesn't seem like we have a whole lot of options, to be perfectly honest.
The alternatives are not attractive.
Exactly.
Having shown raising money is super important. So I totally agree with that.
And even if we needed more, I mean, we've got some exhibit funds that, for general work that, we could pull from if need be, but I don't think so. I think 50,000, we can get some good visuals. We will proceed forward into the preliminaries development, which of course will be beneficial later on. So I think it's the best we can do given the resources we have. Carol,
I do have a question. Actually, I have two. First of all, when I think about exhibit design, $150,000 doesn't sound like that much. And so what I'm wondering is, with those costs having gone up as well, now I realize you got a bid and everything, but my biggest concern is that if we are thinking that we will put off some of this work until we get to the capital pool, is there any guarantee that there will be enough money in the capital pool to actually cover this? Because I only see these costs going up. That's my biggest worry.
So that's we have the continual,
Go ahead.
where they review our budget every time. So at the end of preliminaries, we get another budget review, and every time, Department of DED has increased the budget accordingly with inflation. So there's about $1.1 million in the budget for exhibit design and exhibit design installation funding. So that is supposed to come following our preliminary design phase. So if we thought $50,000 was enough to get stuff done, that it won't be too little, that we'll have to redo in the future, but it'll be enough to get some real work done that we can, use as a start when we get that working drawing money.
I agree with you, Carol, because what we've learned is there's just no guarantees with any of this.
Right.
So I do have that fear as well that the unknown scenario could come along, and the next thing you know, we have to find a solution. I don't have a particular scenario in mind. I just we've just been around the block enough now.
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong, but our opportunity to request the construction funds is really a year and a half away because of the biennium budget. But in this cycle, could we ask for caboose money? Could we put an amendment in to the caboose budget?
We've already crossed that threshold. So
Okay.
We're working on the second. We're working on the next biennium now.
Already?
Yep.
Okay.
So we put in for the amendments, and then that's when the secretary asked us to politely just wait until the next session.
I gotcha.
Yep.
I gotcha. And so it wouldn't make sense for us to advocate among our legislators to put in an amendment at this time because that would go against the recommendation. Correct. So we don't want to do that. So we'll just bide our time, use what we have, and if we have some additional funds somewhere that we can use from the foundation or some other source, perhaps.
We do have a little bit that we're
Okay.
going to supplement the detailed design budget with.
Okay.
To get us as far along as possible.
Right.
It's a good to have, not a must have for the design work.
Yes.
Any other questions or discussion about that topic? So let's put it on the agenda for our next meeting. If we do reach a quorum, we can make a recommendation on that officially, but I guess you heard what we've had to say here pretty much, so you can move forward with that. Our next general topic is the community, and I know the lecture series is ongoing. Our next lecture is next week on Tuesday at 7 o'clock, as we've done before at Wayne Theater, Pay What You Will. We are hosting, and now I'm talking from the South River Watershed Coalition perspective, we're hosting a reception instead of our normal dinner for the speaker. That reception will be at 5:15 in the offices of the South River Watershed Coalition, and I've invited anybody who's on the Center for Cold Waters Restoration Board, as well as the South River Watershed Coalition Board to join us. And of course, any of the VMNH staff, certainly our speaker, Jackson, and anybody else that comes along for that lecture on Tuesday. It'll be, we'll call it heavy appetizers and non-alcoholic drinks. It worked pretty well last time because we're within walking distance of the theater. And so it's a pretty nice alternative to what we used to do at the Heritage, which is no longer open. So
Jackson and I will be there.
great. Okay. And no need to RSVP. If anybody decides at the last minute, they have a few, half an hour before the talk, just feel free to stop by. And we'll walk over about 6:45 so that we're there in time for setting up the speaker. Fall Foliage Fest happened already, so I guess that's on our agenda. We can talk about how it went.
Yeah. Didn't go so well.
Yeah.
It was a great event, but was that when we had the circus in town? No, that was another one. Okay. So I think once people park in that lot and they see they have to go, into the downtown, we did have signs up It just was what it was. It was a great event, very well attended. I hope it went really well.
I ever read.
Beautiful weather.
Yeah.
And fantastic weather.
Right. But I just think visually plus programmatically, people were here to go engage with that. I still think it was a good idea to be there, but we were highly overstaffed. Is what it boiled down to, you know.
Yeah.
So we know for next time with Riverfest, it's a different story because so much of the programming is there, you know. So we will be plan to be open for future events and stuff, but we'll probably just staff it a little differently.
Yeah. Well, we have had in the past a table at Fall Foliage Festival, and that was well attended.
We talked about that too.
It was just kind of out of the traffic flow, the trailer was, as you said.
We might go ahead and re-request, go back to having a table presence as well as the trailer.
Mm-hmm. And maybe even have it at that end of Main Street so that you could say, if you're interested, walk to the trailer on your way back to your car or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Something along those lines. So. Our next, under community, there is a discussion of the trailer. So we know that we have some maintenance reserve funds. I think we learned last time we had $100K or something like that to work on the trailer.
Yeah, so we're in the budget office to get 100,000 allocated with that maintenance reserve funding. JUV pretty much said, you know, we're hands off on this because it's on wheels. We only do fixed structures. So just like it loosens us up to really handle it in the way it needs to be handled.
And what is planned so far for?
So far, we had a call here with previous caretaker from Virginia's in the Fine Arts, Chris, I think is his name, and then got some information there. There's a gentleman in Boston who does it for a living. So Tim is working with his team to reach out to that person. And Baltimore.
Yeah, right.
To schedule a call to cover all the ins and outs of what we should be expecting as far as costs go.
Okay.
And then we can go and bid it out. So gotta get scope of work first, and then we'll knock out the rest.
So this was the guy who took care of the Artmobile, and he now drives for VA 250. So they're putting together 250th trailer that's going to travel all around the state and so forth. But anyway, he gave us a laundry list of things to make sure that they look at everything from tires and axles to, you know, the hydraulics and everything else. So.
And when do we expect to get that estimate?
I think within the next 3 weeks probably is what we're
Okay.
just gotta get him down here. I think we'll end up having to pay for his transportation and like
Sure.
overnight stay. So just
Right.
working on the schedules at this point. Well, holidays coming up.
Right. I mean, after the first of the year,
Right.
we'll probably end up talking about it. Yeah.
Organizing the call and then hopefully he'll be down after the first of the year.
Okay.
And can I make sure we talk about power?
Yes, go ahead.
So, Greg, renting the generator is okay, you know, but it costs us $800 a pop. Is there, and we'd be willing to get resources in it. Is there somebody at the city we can talk to about the possibility of having, I mean, I know there's a power pole right there. I don't know what goes into this. It's called a 3-phase system. That means nothing to me.
Right.
But is there somebody who's knowledgeable that we could talk to see about the
I'll
power?
talk to Dwayne.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Just connect with him. He asked about it the other day too. Well, we were talking about something else, and I told him that was on your list of things to do is not to have a generator.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah, talk to him.
I will. That's all I need to know.
Any questions about the trailer maintenance?
Not about the maintenance, but just it's out, whether or not it's going to be open much over the winter and scheduling more time down there. I really enjoyed my time down there and the students really loved it too.
In the winter, you'd really want the HVAC going. And if you want the HVAC going for the time being, we're going to need the trailer. And if we're going to invest in the trailer, we want to make sure we have foot traffic. And I don't know that you have too many winter events, Greg.
November 30th will be the last one.
Okay.
So then the Christmas parade the week after, but yeah.
Yeah, we might end up waiting until the springtime, Carol. So, but we appreciate your efforts. I mean, we thought you were kidding when you said you were going to show up, and there you were. That was great. So, all these busy people, they're doing stuff. This is
So
awesome.
was it open to the market mainly on Saturday?
Yes.
And that has ended now? The
Yes.
market has ended?
Yeah.
because I came by on Saturday thinking they were going in.
Yeah, they had their last market day in October.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were getting 50 to 100 people per Saturday, you know,
Okay.
so the
Yeah,
traffic
no, I
was pretty
thought
good.
that worked out really well.
Yeah.
Partnering with the market. So we'll look for opportunities like that. I don't know if there's any thoughts about being open upon request. So we might have a Rotary group or a Kiwanis group or something like that. I want to visit. If that's the case, would be willing to open for something like that.
Sure, I mean, we can give you the lockbox code.
Okay.
And I mean, the only prep, it's a little bit of a pain, but the only prep, if you want to have the exhibit lights on, right, so you can see everything. You can't run the monitor, you can't run the HVAC, but there's a long drop cord and one plug.
Yeah.
Right, so you just have to, I know it looks a little trashy, but yeah, you run the drop cord out and run it over to the pavilion.
Right.
Right, and you'll at least have the lights.
And I would want to funnel requests like that through Mary Poulin or somebody.
Sure,
So that,
exactly.
because she knows the volunteer army that's out there. And so if we hear something like that in the community, that there's a group that wants to visit, we can accommodate that.
So we should contact Mary directly if I get something like that.
Yeah,
From
I-
Rotary or
Yeah.
through my travels.
Yeah, I think keep working through Mary, because
Okay.
she's been the one who's coordinated the volunteers and she's done a great job. And so, and when the farmer's market season comes back, I'm sure we'll be doing the same kind of thing again. But in the meantime, we're at a quiet phase, and then we'll hear about what the estimate is on repairs, and we'll go from there.
That's one where we don't have to wait on the money. So money's already allocated. So we just
Right.
have it. We just-
All right.
As soon as we get to go. Yeah.
So on that, is part of that converting the HVAC to regular power other than phase, like, cause I don't know, I'm kind of with you, I'm not sure where the phase 3 fits into the whole, that seems odd for a trailer,
As
but
far as the renovation goes, I don't know if phase 3 is necessary for the hydraulics or not.
yeah.
With the
Okay.
thing. So I don't know. Without that, I think we could switch to either a small generator or the.
Okay.
So, but that's part of the gentleman we're going to speak with.
We're learning as we go.
Yeah.
We're a lot more knowledgeable about trailers today than we were a year ago.
I'd say we're at least 100% more knowledgeable now.
All right, last thing I have under community is our trail signs, Joe.
Yeah, it's going just fine. I'm working with Parks and Rec. We're targeting 7 topics you see in your agenda there. We're not going to make verbose signs. The idea is to have stuff that is going to be colorful. We're going to handle the graphic design. I'm putting together a framework for each one of these. I wanted to share it with some of the curators. Tom's agreed to see it. If anybody else wants to take a look at it, please feel free to volunteer and take a look at the content. But once that's all done, Parks and Rec has a vendor that we can use, and this is all money going through our foundation, so there'd be no problem there. And then Parks and Rec will also be responsible for the installation, with the target date being Riverfest, to have that all finished. So those should come up. And I don't want to say, I hate being optimistic when it comes to money, but we may have some extra money left over the way things are looking so far. So I don't know exactly how much that might be, but if there's something else that we can do to supplement the trail signage, I don't know if that'd be offhand, but if anybody has an idea.
My pet project is to put some large
Yeah.
examples of rock along the greenway in a timeline as you're getting closer and closer to the building. So if that's something we could accommodate with those funds, I think that would be a neat addition. Greenstone being one of the oldest rocks and the farthest away on the trail, and then as you get closer, younger and younger geologic specimens. So.
How far along the greenway do the trail signs go? I should know that.
I don't know. So we haven't figured that out. What we're going to do is we're just going to, one day as we get closer to the completion, we're going to walk it and figure out where these go. Because part of my goal too is to kind of have them lead up into the slot, to kind of bring attention to it. So, but that's going to depend upon the walk. So I totally misunderstood what they were talking about a couple of months ago. I mean, I thought they already had some installed, and I thought they had others designed but not yet printed. And I thought we were just going to use the funds to get those printed, and then we're going to design those with 3D prints on them, stuff like that. And they're like, no, we don't have anything. So I was under the wrong impression there about where we're at. So basically, we're going to start this part from ground zero. Once we get this design, we'll do the walk. And if you've got input, if there's not an ulterior motive, but a motivation to put them somewhere. Okay.
Will there be an opportunity on the sign to put the museum's emblem or logo?
We'll have ours, the cities, and Dominion's
Okay,
on each one.
great. Any questions about those signs? I'm particularly excited about the watershed sign because I know our Software Watershed Coalition is in the process of like putting up signs all over the watershed that kind of say "You are here," and so we've got those going in elsewhere.
These are going to be 3 feet by 2 feet, which is good because, as you know, the South River watershed is very linear, and so our 3D print guy can print a nice representation of the watershed topography that we can bolt to the side, to off center on the sign, and have the interpretive material more central. Cool. And so forth. It should be pretty nice.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, the watershed looks a lot like Italy. It looks like a boot.
Yeah, that's right.
So I guess we're down to open discussion then. So our first thing on the discussion is about the calendar. Yeah, I guess we've been in the tradition of having a monthly meeting, either here or online, alternating if need be. And having it the first Tuesday. Didn't work out this month because of the election. But would the first Tuesday of December, January, and February fit?
December is December 3rd. That's the first Tuesday. In January, it's January 7th. And in February, it's February 4th. The second being Groundhog Day.
I will not be here on January 7th.
Okay.
I'll think along.
Oh, we
Will you bring us some more?
Yeah, going to Panama and the Caribbean.
Awesome. Good time to be there in January. Yeah.
Really good time.
You all, for January is okay, but for February and March, I'm teaching at 2:20 on Tuesdays, and so it will be hard for. Well, I really can't be in Waynesboro and then get back to JMU to teach. But if you all are okay with me joining you by Zoom, I'm sorry about the quorum today. But that's really is sort of, that's where I am. So if we could do that.
Okay, Carol, I think we're okay with postponing any actions by the committee at this point, but
Okay.
we're happy to have you in any way. So if it's okay with you, I think we'll keep it on Tuesdays just because of the tradition of it.
That's fine.
And you can make it when you can and join us virtually if not.
And do we need to come up? I mean, it looks like these dates will work.
Yep.
All that said, do we need speakers for next year? Does anyone know?
I am not as involved in that anymore as I was. So
I forgot to
I
look
think
at the schedule.
Jenna Kana is the one to reach out to regarding that.
Okay, I'll
We
read.
have some, but I don't think we're full.
Yeah,
That's the impression I have.
think you're right. And we don't do a speaker in December. We're going to pick up in January, so I'm not sure what she has lined up for.
I think January is good. I think it's a little later on.
Yeah.
Is my recollection. I meant to look at that before I left the
Yeah.
office.
Okay. And also on our open discussion is we do need a representative from the UNH Foundation since Len has rolled off of his position there. It's good to have somebody from the foundation represented in this committee just because it'll
So you
make
come from this area on Foundation Board.
No, we had Len Doran, but he had his accident, and let me just say he's kind of out of the. I haven't been given details, but I just said was told don't count on him. So he won't be a member of the foundation board or part of this committee. But yeah, if there's somebody that that we could speak with who might I mean, and would also make a deal with the person who's up here. They're always welcome to come down to Martinsville to attend the quarterly foundation board meetings, but it's the values and what they can provide to us guidance wise and so forth up here. So it's not like anyone's going to be questioning where they're at if they're not driving all the way to Martinsville for a foundation board meeting. So,
So are we looking for a foundation board member to be a member of this committee or
Yes.
the other way around?
yeah, exactly.
Both.
A member of this committee and a member of the foundation.
Right.
Okay.
So
We're looking for somebody new, not just, okay.
Not that we wouldn't welcome somebody from the foundation who isn't from the area, but I think it helps to have somebody
Local.
both local and on the foundation board representing Waynesboro. So, if anybody has anybody in mind, just share that with Joe.
and we could talk about it offline too, if there's
Yeah.
any names you want to bounce around. And Carol, if there's anyone in particular that you might want to recommend as you kind of have a chance to digest this, please let us know.
And just to put it out there, my term expires on the trustee board in 2027. So at some point, we're going to also need to look for people to nominate to the, the administration to replace me. I will time out. I will have been on there 12 years. So, but, and I may join the foundation board. Who knows? But that would-
Yeah.
So, okay. Anything else for open discussion that anybody wants to bring up? I'll only share that Joe and I and Len met with the Project Grows folks to talk about the farmers market relationship and how we value that relationship, and also just to open communications, because I think there are some misconceptions out there about potential conflict between the development of the museum campus here versus how it's going to impact the farmers market. We just wanted to open communication channels there and see it as really, we think, an opportunity to partner and have maybe some interpretive exhibits that talk about native plants and foraging and the history of agriculture in the valley and how climate is important and things like that, that are shared themes. And they expressed an interest in hosting programs where they might give talks about local agriculture and volunteer time at the museum. So that was really just a preliminary opportunity to talk through some things. And I thought it went well, Joe.
Yeah, and they talked about, and I'd be good with this because right now, the way things are looking, we're not going to get much in the way of any kind of landscape design for the building, considering that we can just basically afford the building and some of the exhibits, right? So we kind of left the door open if we want to partner with the farmers market to create a harvestable landscape. Mm-hmm. So, so this would be, if you were standing on Main Street looking at our lot, it would be the far right corner area, the far right quadrant, so to speak, would be right now it's just slated to be grass, which I'm not really happy about. So that's got to get voted, But if there was a group that wanted to tend to, say, a raised bed situation or trellis plants and so forth, that could then be harvested and donated to a good cause, food bank, and so forth. And it could also be a demonstration area. This is how to do it, so that you can do it at home. So they seem interested. So let's, the door's open. We're fingers on the pulse. We'll see how that translates into action later on. But I think it'd be an interesting.
And we had the market manager, we had the executive director, and I guess the other person was a community outreach person who seemed more interested in the grant writing.
Right.
So she might be the one we work with if we were going to write grants to propose something like this. So
within the last 3 weeks or longer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And one thing that kind of brought this to mind for me was that when I was traveling back from out west, I stopped in Cedar Rapids, and there was a really nice model, I thought, of a warehouse that had been restored for businesses, but on the outside, they had put up some trellis work, and they had a rainwater harvest system that came off the roof that watered these raised beds, and they had a little sitting area with some interpretive signage, and it was clearly a partnership between the people that developed that building and a local, something like a Project Grows like we have. And the signage suggested that all the produce was donated to a food bank, which I thought, well, that makes sense, because then you don't have the liability of somebody harvesting off of the property and having, you know, an issue and then suing you. If you say it's only going to be donated and it's, you know, not for regular harvest for people that are walking by. Anyway, I just thought it was a good model. And so we'll keep that communication open if anybody has any ideas.
You grow hops for basic city beer.
There you go. Yep.
And another thing from a practical standpoint is like, I don't know how much it would cost to pay a landscape designer to come up with a whatever, a landscape, and then to pay for that to be initiated. I mean, it would cost a lot less to give a group $25,000 for trellis work, raised beds, product, and turn it into something, you know, practical,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
So, and I still think very mission specific.
Yeah. And in general, I think I'm looking for opportunities to partner with groups that can support some of the ancillary parts of our larger design, right? Whether it's the green roof, or whether it's the landscaping, or whether it's some exhibit indoors. You know, I think we're going to need to do that at some point.
I'm sure you've got Pastor Naturalist and Virginia Native Plant Society on that potential partner list.
Yes. Well,
And they're pretty active, become more, particularly Virginia Native Plant Society has become.
that's the one that I probably need to learn more about, because I know that Master Naturalists are already strong partners with the main campus of the museum.
Right.
And we've reached out to the Headwaters chapter here. I think they're all interested in participating, but I don't know much about connections to the Native
I think it's
Plants.
the Shenandoah chapter,
Okay.
and they've relatively recently reestablished, and they've produced this wonderful book. Did I share that with you, Joe?
Well, we were a
Oh, you're a
sponsor.
sponsor of it.
Yeah.
Well, they're actually
Doing a second
reprinting,
edition.
they're doing a reprint. And it's focused on native plants for landscaping,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really quite well done.
Have you spoken to that group?
I've talked to them.
But I mean, like as a
No,
presentation to
I have
one of their
not.
chapter meetings or anything?
Yeah.
I'm a member.
Oh, there we
I
go.
am too.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know whether they have a speaker for their meetings.
They don't meet that often,
They
right,
don't?
Carol? They have an annual meeting, I think, which they
Right.
just had this past fall.
Okay.
But I can put you in touch, or Carol can, with a couple of different people. Barbara Brothers is one who's real active. She was a main player in this publication. I think that's who you maybe talked to.
Yes,
Um,
maybe they want to do a field trip or something,
Yeah,
get to know them that way, do
yeah.
an insect
Well, I
related
can
thing.
certainly, try to make that happen.
You see opportunity,
Conversation.
please.
Yeah.
For sure.
I don't have anything else other than a reminder that our next speaker is next week on Tuesday.
Who is it?
It's Jackson Means, our miraculologist.
He was just recently promoted to assistant curator.
Excellent. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So you'll be hearing about millipedes and centipedes and the hidden life underneath your feet or something like that. A pretty best title. So, and again, if you are able, you're welcome to join us for a reception at 5:15 or anytime before the talk up until about 6:45 at the South River Watershed Coalition office. Anything else for the good of the order? We are.
You zipped through the agenda, so
I
I probably
did.
missed about 3/4 of the meeting. I was
Okay.
only 10 minutes late, so.
Um,
Anyway, I'll look forward to the minutes. But are you gonna be around for a little bit?
Yep.
Okay, can I just have
Yep.
1 or 2 minutes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess we did have an election since our last meeting too. That's something we need to think
Yes.
about as the advocacy committee.
I thought you would have already discussed
We did
that.
not talk about that, but maybe that's something we need to put on our agenda for the next meeting. Of course, our new legislators will take office sometime early next year.
Do we have new people that serve our immediate?
That's a good question. I don't think anybody was up for election except for Ben Klein, and he was reelected. And I'm not aware of any other changes.
I don't think so. Not
For
here.
our sort of assembly.
Yeah.
So maybe there isn't a whole lot to be done there other than.
Is Chris Runyon one that you all been in touch with?
Yes, I've been in touch with him quite a lot.
And is he favorable?
He is, as you might expect, just very fiscally conservative and wants to make sure that this is a, revenue positive
Okay.
thing. And so I've talked to him many times over the years about the project. He's well aware. He recognizes me now when I show up at meetings, so that's a good sign. And he has been supportive, I will say. He was good at recommending people to talk to when we were down in Richmond and on the money committees and so forth. So he's he's supportive that way. As I said. And that's always something to be aware of is our legislators, and we probably at some point need to again push information, updating them with anything that happens with regard to our design or the trailer or what have you. All right, well, thank you again, and we are adjourned until next month.
Perfect. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Carol. Very much appreciate it.
Bye.